The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. We come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern, 9 Pacific, or around there, to talk about guns for about an hour. It's an effort in new media, so we're paying attention to the comments that are coming in from the show live. We've been broadcasting it on YouTube, but very few people watch the show live. We're going to start broadcasting it over at guntube.org, which is a newer individually owned platform. Then, of course, we'll take the audio and push it out to iTunes and the other podcast platforms out there. And I'm talking and typing at the same time, but I can now concentrate back on the show. It is Thursday, and I'm by myself, so it'll be a quick show tonight. We'll talk about some of the things we like to hit on a daily basis, such as a gun shop every day, and anything that might be going on with gun history or Second Amendment issues. We also do kind of a sister show to this one called Early Watch, where we talk about news of the day and kind of become the extract of the efforts of a bunch of people called the Early Watch Nation. They get together and watch the news, the Second Amendment gun-related news in their states, their areas, and then send that into Tony and Jimmy, who then every morning get together and get that out there, talk about it, put their spin on it. And I've been helping out with posting that show. So today's episode 594. Next Friday is our 600th show. I've been asking for ideas if anybody has something to do for that 600th show. Be curious. Something to do something to commemorate it. Thursdays, though, we talk about training, and since I'm by myself, I don't need to train, so I don't have to talk about that. U. The letter U. Then we'll possibly talk about, should mobile homes be considered residence as far as state firearms possession laws are concerned. Could include campers too, I guess. So since that thing's been popping around on the list here, it's time to address it. Should mobile homes be considered residence as far as state firearms possession laws? Of course, I believe they're considered residences for just about everything else. The only thing they might not be considered residences for would be like tornado insurance and maybe flood insurance, only because of their physical differences. But I'm pretty sure they're considered residences as far as being four walls with a door and something that you pay rent or own, right? So I'm not sure what there's what debate there would be there. But if you're familiar with some debate that I'm missing, then feel free to let it know in the comments. I'll look over at the comments here in a minute. One of the things we like to do is feature one of the Gun Channel's members each day. And today we're going to be featuring, see, this is a weird one, but it's actually Ellis. So he's got a weird name for his actual channel, and I don't know if it's pronounced differently than I can read it here, but anyway, Ellis is a pretty good guy. He's out in now in South Carolina, hanging out near Night Strike. A very active member of Gun Channels, hanging out, being part of the live conversations, and being real good-natured about the ribbon that people give him, the gentle, good-natured ribbon that people give him. He's able to give that right back. And has been showing up at some of the live events, so that's pretty cool. That's what Gun Channels is all about. And Angelina's jumping in from California. How's California treating you today?
It's good. It was a little warm, but it's good.
Right on. So yeah, we started the show a little bit late. Clover did his Thursday show long today, so an interesting show talking about the nuts and bolts of podcasting over there and some of the methods and theories behind it. It was kind of interesting. Had some new people on the panel too. I've just been digging in, talked about mobile homes being residences, just talked about Ellis, member of the day, and I was about to start talking about the gun shop, Big Sky Military. So, okay, this one. So this one I think actually has a few pictures. So one of the next projects in the list will be to go through and rehash the gun shop reviews. I've been traveling around for the last couple of years with an emphasis on checking out gun shops, and taking mostly still pictures and every once in a while a little bit of video. And my goal is to accumulate basically a guide or some sort of a list of a bunch of different gun shops that are interesting or unique. I'd like to personally visit as many as possible, just as a personal challenge, I guess, or a goal. But with the help of the internet and a bunch of other people, we can get pictures of all the most interesting, valuable looking gun, interesting gun shops out there, that we can, put them in a big pile and have them on the internet so that everybody can share them. And this is the kind of place that I have in mind when I'm thinking about projects like that. It's a cool little shop. You wouldn't think nothing of it just driving by. It looks just like a sign on the front of a, industrial or commercial building there. But once you get inside, it's a real gun shop. So I think I've got some pictures here we can actually look at today. And I'll be, like I say, I'll be putting together some videos of some of these pictures. But yeah, floor to ceiling. I'd been there a while, not forever. I mean, there wasn't a ton of stuff in there. Well, there was a lot of stuff, but it hadn't been, accumulating under the shelves and stuff. It also, tend to happen over many years of being in the location. But just all kinds of neat stuff. Real surplus mostly, which is always a treat. A lot of times you see a place that has maybe this much stuff, but it's all just imported camping, quote unquote, stuff. This was pretty much all surplus and just a weird variety for being kind of out in the middle of nowhere in the mountains in kind of eastern Arizona.
Looks like they have a bunch of cool stuff.
Yeah. And the kind of shop where you can go there a few times and still discover things. And no matter what season or what hobby you might be into, I'm sure you can find something that would be interesting for you. But because there's so much stuff, yeah, you could go in there a bunch of times and just to browse and discover interesting things. I think it's just going in circles now for the pictures, but that's called Big Sky Military Surplus. And unfortunately, it's the kind of store that you see come and go, right? I wish they could say that these kind of places would be supported forever. I'd like to think that places like this can get themselves online, when they're able, and offer whatever unique stuff they have there. I think that's one of the ways to keep a little place in business is to, if they have a source or maybe they bought a collection of something or they're, real interested in some aspect of the industry or whatever it happens to be, then they can, share that with everybody and stay in business where, in this physical location, being a surplus store, this is not really I guess it's a ski town is the way to call it. It's just sort of a little town. Used to be a little sleepy town up in the middle of nowhere in the mountains. Now it's a larger town. And I guess they just must have enough full-time traffic to keep a surplus store open. But I guess with hunting and hiking and outdoor stuff, interested people must keep coming in.
It's a pretty cool shop.
Every day we like to feature a new shop, so if you've got something in mind, a store that you've seen that's pretty cool, especially one that might be on the edge. A couple of the shops that we've covered over the couple of years that we've been doing this now have gone under. That sucks. In fact, Tucson Guns went under, right? So some of the coolest shops out there end eventually. Unfortunately, like too many businesses, the person running it is the business, and when they're no longer able or interested to run it, a lot of times they'll fold. On the other hand, sometimes the best businesses are the business, right? The I don't know what you call it, like the feeling or whatever. So the employees keep that going, and it just becomes part of the experience for everybody, even after the founder or the creator of it all leaves. All right.
Always support small business. That's the moral of the story.
Good point. Imagine we got some gun history today, being Thursday the 21st. It looks like we have Browning and the baby Browning, found the patents on that. And then Ruger being born. Is that today? It seems like I've been talking about that for 2 days. I guess we started talking about that early yesterday. So yeah, Ruger was born and the Browning was invented. I think there's actually one other thing over there if you go to Gun Channels or guncalendars.com. But I'm going to jump over to the less interesting history that I look at every once in a while in case there's something interesting over there. Slavery outlawed in England in 1772. Custer something Oh, Custer somebody else sent Custer and some other guy to the Little Bighorn to search for Indian villages. That was in 1876. So it sounds like he got put out on his campaign today. Lindberghs had their baby today in 1930.
They had it or it got stolen?
No, it said it was born today.
Oh, okay.
Born today. Hitler banned political parties in Germany other than the Nazis today in 1933. First step towards fascism. I'm the only political party.
Yep.
Huh, 1942, a Japanese submarine shells Fort Stevens at the mouth of the Columbia River. In 1970, Richard Nixon signs the 26th Amendment, lowering the voting age to 18.
What was it prior? 21?
Yeah, I think so. Feels like that's too young. That's too young to be able to make a decision like that of such consequence. 1973, Skylab astronauts splashed down safely in the Pacific after 28 days in space. So Skylab, the precursor to Skynet, and that's why they made the Skynet, to catch those people that splashed down. And then they never thought it was going to turn into the thing that took over the planet, but it did.
Well, and that's why we have the Space Force now.
Well, a little too late, but whatever. Skynet is, doesn't need to worry about space. About to clog out the space. Then a bunch of other news that has to do with countries that aren't here, so I'm not reading them. That's it. So there was some interesting history, but most of it was not interesting. If you know something that's interesting and it's not on guncalendars.com, we encourage you to let us know about it so we can add it to the calendar. It's dailygunshow@gmail.com would be the email to let us know. I think I'm about it. I'm about done. We're doing a small show tonight because we ran late. You got anything you want to throw in here before we end it up?
Buy things from allananchor.com.
Any, did you had those patches go out today? Are you rich now? Did you sell out and you're wealthy?
They're selling pretty good. So if you think you might want one of those patches, I'd probably step on it.
Right on. It's always cool to hear that they move right off the bat when you put it, because they just came out today, right?
Yeah, I think I posted something, I don't know, around noon or 2.
Calaveras, otherwise known as Pickle, is saying there is talk of lowering the voting age again. So yeah, that would be great. That way we have 13, 14-year-olds voting because they're not easily manipulated or, unaware of consequences. So
Right.
that's great.
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea.
All right, so I see a couple of people suggesting gun shops in the comments. While the comments are now recorded, I don't go back and read comments. It's just too many sources of data to go back and check. So the best way to let us know about a gun shop would either be to go to gunshowloophole.com, or gunshowloophole.tour.com, excuse me. And there's a couple of places there that link to the place where you can suggest a gun shop, especially since we'll be back on the road here, hopefully sooner than later. Always putting stuff in there is a good idea in case we make a quick trip or unplanned or hastily planned visit somewhere. Then we can use that list, not just me, but anybody who might be traveling. But also then that way, when we are planning a route, we have ideas that come from our listeners. And that's the real goal, is to check out shops that we know are cool. So going to Google Maps and driving through a town and guessing has worked, but it ain't always worked. So it's much better when we have an idea, a direction from an actual person who's been there. So again, thanks people who participate in that have pointed us in those directions. Finished, or not finished, but I'm almost done with a couple of projects I've been working on, so that'll let me have some more time to move on to new projects. And one of those, now that we've got videos, most of our videos, or a good chunk of videos, are getting moved off of YouTube finally. We can go back to creating videos on a more regular basis. Now that we have platform options available that can handle our topics. So appreciate all the people that are supporting us on the Patreon that give us the time to do that. We would not have the time otherwise. Angela, thanks for jumping in. Kind of had an abbreviated show tonight, screwing with everybody, starting kind of in the middle of nowhere, but we're stopping right at the top of the hour. So again, there's some people been commenting. Appreciate that. It's always good to have people here for the conversation. That's what it's all about. An effort in the new media. We're thinking about changing the time of the show, or at least we always are open to that. So let us know, again, with email, if there's a better time that would work for you as a listener, so that you could also participate. And with that, I guess, do you have any quote or anything tonight?
I don't, but have a nice night, everyone.
We'll grab this, and we'll grab this, and yes, this one.
The guys and gals at gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.